Good afternoon, everyone. I am Vijay Bharati Sharma, the Assistant Professor in the Department of Parasitology at the Chelcha District, Monday. Today, I will discuss about the parasitic diseases. So, before starting about the parasitic diseases, we have to know the meaning of parasitology. So, before starting about the diseases and the spread about from the parasitology, we will just discuss about the meaning. So, the word parasitology is derived from the two Greek words that stands for para and situs. The para means to gain or to acquire, and situs means food. So it stands for the meaning the graining of food or the process by which one person is depending on the other person for their benefits like for the food, for the nutrition. So parasitology, as its word properly describe the meaning, so that that the organism which depend on the other organism for their food. So, when talking about the parasitology, so parasitology is a scientific discipline which concerns with the study of biology of parasites and parasitic diseases. In other words, we can say the parasitology is the interaction in between the parasites and their host. So, parasites, before starting something, so I will just discuss about the parasites and the host. So, parasites are the living organisms which depend on the other organisms for their food, for their nourishment. And hosts are the other group of living organisms which were infected, yeah, affected by the parasite. So we can say the parasitology is the study of parasites, their host, and the relationship in between them. As a biological discipline, the scopes of parasitology is not determined by the organism or environment in question, but their way of life. So, when talking about the parasitology, let's just discuss about the variety, strains, and fields about the fields of the parasitology. So, there are so many fields of parasitology. First, we have medical parasitology, we have veterinary parasitology, we have structural parasitology. Another one is we can call it quantitative parasitology and parasite ecology, and the last one is malariology. So these are the fields and streams of the parasitology. So, if we are talking about the medical parasitology, so as I told you before, the parasites, yeah, or the parasitology are the group of some living organisms which affect other or which other organisms for their beneficial. So, by affecting the host or by affecting the other living organisms, they do the diseases, they spread the disease. So we can, in another words, we can also say the parasites, these are the free living parasites which are freely present in our environment and causes a different kind of diseases in humans as well as we can say in animals. So, in our environment, these parasites were freely present and which causes a variety of diseases which refer to our day-to-day life activity. Presence of this parasite will cause the variety of diseases which harm us, which cause a number of diseases. So when talking about the medical parasitology, so medical parasitology is the one of the largest field in the parasitology. So, when taking an example of medical parasitology, so medical parasitology is the subject that deals with the parasites that infect humans. For example, it gives us the knowledge, or we can say it educates us what the parasite infect the human, or after infecting the human, what are the diseases caused by the parasites, and what are the clinical pictures and responses generated by the human against them. So it also concerned with the various methods of their diagnosis, treatment, and finally their prevention and control. In easy words, we can also say that in medical parasitology, we discuss about the parasites and their infections, what the parasites cause the infections in the human, and what are the preventions of that infections, and what are the preventions of diseases, and what are the diagnosis of that diseases. So we can all these processes we can study it in the field of medical parasitology. So depending, so as I told you before, there are so many parasites present in our environment which causes a different types of diseases to human, or which can harm the human in our day-to-day life activity. So depending upon their harmful nature, so parasite is classified into their basic characters. So first, I have to say that the first character is the unicellular parasite, and the second, another character is multicellular parasite. So unicellular parasite, in this we can study about the nature of the parasite, in which we took the example of parasite, unicellular parasite, in which we have studied about the protozoan parasites. The in protozoan we can study about the amoebae, in which we can study about the flagellates and other unicellular parasites which causes the harmful diseases to humans as well as to animals. So in unicellular parasites, we will discuss about the protozoan parasites. The protozoan parasites cause different and harmful diseases to the human beings. So another one is multicellular parasites. So in multicellular parasites, we took the example of plating helminthes. As you all know, the plating helminthes, the helminthes group, the worm family, the platyhelminthes stand for the flatworms. In this multicellular parasites, we will discuss about the harm and diseases and the diseases spreading by the worms that helminthes. So in this we can study about the flatworms. Like if we take the example of flatworms, we took example of flukes, in which we have studied about the liver fluke and other flukes. And another example, we have tapeworm, in which we have studied about the different types of tapeworm and different diseases caused by the tapeworm. And another, we took an example of roundworm. In this roundworm, we have example of pinworm and so many other organisms which causes the different diseases in human as well as in other animals also. And in also in multicellular parasite, we will discuss about the arthropods, the insect which were harmful to us, which were harmful to human population, and which causes the different kind of diseases, and how the diseases enter, and yeah, how these diseases spread by the parasites. We will discuss about in the parasitic classification. We have discussed about the characters, what parasite is, a unicellular parasite or a multicellular parasite. So if I took an example of a malaria, so when taking the example of malaria, so malaria is a unicellular parasite, or we can say it a protozoan parasite. So protozoan parasite or subgroup sporozoan, example Plasmodium. So if we took an example of malaria disease, the life-threatening disease, which is the heaviest burden worldwide, causing diseases, and malaria is the life-threatening disease. The heaviest burden in the worldwide disease is the malaria disease, and malaria is a protozoan disease which is spread by the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. But there are so many species of Plasmodium. So Plasmodium species can spread the malaria. So there are so many species of Plasmodium which causes the different kind of malaria in the human beings. So some common example of Plasmodium species is Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium ovale. These are the some common Plasmodium species which causes the different kinds of malarial diseases in human beings. So when talking about the Plasmodium falciparum, so if I took the example of Plasmodium falciparum, so talking about its distribution, Plasmodium falciparum. So it is the species is widely spread in the region of Asia, North Africa, Central and South America. These are the places which were highly affected by the species of Plasmodium falciparum. So Plasmodium falciparum is the most deadly spreading disease which is spread rapidly and which affect the human population worldwide, as we can also say that total 70% of the malarial disease was caused by the Plasmodium falciparum. Plasmodium falciparum is a most common, rapidly spreading, and most harmful disease, as it if if it left untreated, it may cause so many complications which may further leads to the death cases. So, falciparum species of Plasmodium is most harmful species to the human population, as it is not curable disease. It caused the malaria which was not easily curable. So, and another example is malaria, Plasmodium falciparum is widely spreading disease. It has most life-threatening symptoms and life-threatening harmful. It causes the most life-threatening symptoms in the human population. And if I took an example of Plasmodium vivax, so in comparison of both Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium vivax, so Plasmodium vivax is also common as like the Plasmodium falciparum, but if talking about the Plasmodium vivax, it is a curable disease. It can be cured by some medicines, by taking some preventions, by some educational preventions, or by teaching people, by educating people. So it is curable diseases. It can be a cure by a proper treatment. So in Plasmodium vivax, if I took an example of the distribution of the Plasmodium vivax, so Plasmodium vivax is rapidly spread. It is also rapidly spreading disease, and Plasmodium vivax is also found in Asia or Southeast Asia. I would say India has also affected with the Plasmodium vivax cases. We took some examples from the Africa. So this is about the Plasmodium vivax. So third one, I took the example of Plasmodium malariae. So Plasmodium malariae can also cause the malaria in different kinds of malaria and different types of diseases in humans. And talking about the distribution of the Plasmodium malariae species, it is found in the everywhere. As talking about the distribution, its distribution is worldwide, but the cases of Plasmodium malariae were seen less in the Africa. The cases of Plasmodium malariae were seen less in the African region, although it was present in globally and the distribution is everywhere worldwide. So, if I took another example of Plasmodium ovale, so Plasmodium ovale is also malarial causing parasite. So malarial causing Plasmodium species, which causes malaria diseases. The distribution of Plasmodium ovale is mostly found in the West Africa. So these are the some Plasmodium species which causes the different kinds of malarial disease in the human beings. So if I talking about the vector of Plasmodium or malaria, the vector of Plasmodium species is a mosquito. The female mosquito, the female Anopheles mosquito is the vector of this Plasmodium protozoan, Plasmodium parasite. So this female Anopheles mosquitoes travel and spread the malaria in the human beings and in other organisms. So we can say it the vector of malarial disease is always a female Anopheles mosquitoes. So about the morphology and discussing about the life cycle of malarial. So we have to discuss about the like talking about the life cycle of malaria. So how this female Anopheles mosquito harm the human population or spread and increase the risk factors of malaria and also increasing the spreading factor of malaria in the environment and in the human population. So, what this female Anopheles mosquito do? So, this female, if suppose that this female mosquito has the parasite inside her saliva. So if this mosquito, this female Anopheles mosquito, how this how this protozoan parasite will enter to the human body and how after entering in the body, how this will affect our organs, how this will affect the human body and causes the different kind of diseases. So first, what this mosquito has done, so mosquito first bite the human. As the mosquito bite, it pierces the skin of the human. So after piercing the skin of the human, what does it do? So it does it first suck the blood of human. So after piercing the skin or sucking the blood of human, so it directly entered in the human body. So it when it entered in the human body, it releases its spore. So we can also say it is a sporozoid. So we can also call it sporozoid stage because what this mosquito has done, this mosquito has bite the human, suck the blood, and when sucking the blood, it releases the spores in the through the saliva, its saliva. So after releasing its spore in the human body, so these spores were entered or moved towards the liver of the human or hepatic cells through the bloodstream. After reaching the hepatic cells or liver, these sporozoids were asexually reproduced as they started the infecting, as they started the infection, causing the infection in the liver. So what they do, they do start asexual reproduction inside the liver. So after the asexual reproduction, what has done, the multiplication of these sporozoites has been done. So there is a rapidly increase in the number of these sporozoites in the hepatic cells. When there is a rapidly increase in the number of hepatic sporozoites in the hepatic cells or in the liver, but after the rapid increase of the number of the sporozoites, the liver may leads to the burst out and it releases the sporozoite. But now sporozoite were not released, it becomes a merozoite. After affecting the hepatic cells or after affecting the liver, it may burst out or it may be burst out in the form of merozoite. So after rupturing the liver in the form of merozoite, it travels to the RBCs, the red blood cells of our body. So in the end, when they travel towards the RBCs, they were traveled in the form of merozoites. So they were in the merozoite form. So after reaching the in the RBCs or the red blood cells, what they start doing is they again started the asexual reproduction or again started the multiplication. So again there is a rapidly increasing in the number of the merozoites cell. So again there is a rapid increase in the number of the merozoites. So again there is a two condition which were happened in the RBCs. One, there is a asexual reproduction where the multiplication or the rapid increase of the merozoites were increased. So the rapid number of due to the rapid number of increase of the merozoite in the RBCs were leads to the rupture and again burst out of the RBCs. So when RBCs burst out by the rapid increasing number of the merozoite, it may further lead to the some primary symptoms, which may be chills, a symptom of fever, a symptom of chilling, shivering. So these are the some primary symptoms if merozoites were multiplied or asexually reproduced or grow it in the numbers. And the second, how it spread again or how it's spreading the cycle and how it maintaining its cycle. So second condition, it takes the multiplication in the host body with sexual cycle. So with this sexual cycle, what this condition merozoite has done, the merozoite has now produced the gametes. That gametes are male gamete and female gamete. So what happened now? These male gamete and these female gametes were present now in the RBCs of the body. So what happened if another normal non-infected mosquito bite the infected person? Now what happened to the fly or what happened to the mosquito? Now the infected or not infected fly bite the infected person. So now the gametes, the female and the male gametes were transferred to the mouth of that non-infected mosquito and they were live in the gut region of the mosquitoes. So now when after entering the mosquitoes, they will live in the gut. So in gut region, the male and female gametes were fertilized and they form zygote. And later that zygote form again sporozoite and that sporozoite again finds a new person, again bites some new person, again spread the disease. So this is how the female mosquito or female Anopheles mosquito spread the disease and complete its cycle by spreading its by releasing its stages, its infectious stages, and affect the different organs of human body as it first affect the liver system or in liver we can say it firstly affect the hepatic cells of liver. After the liver it will reach to the RBCs which may be leads to the affection or damage of RBCs which may further leads to the some primary symptoms of these. And if it this stages or these symptoms were left untreated, these may causes the serious damage which may further lead to the death of the person. So, if when I'm talking about in the RBCs, the some primary symptoms in after rupturing or bursting of the RBCs, some common symptoms were happened like high fever, shaking chills, and sweating, headache, abdominal pain, muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, anemia. These are some common symptoms which were come in the life cycle of this parasite. If that secondary symptoms that might be called as chronic symptoms, for there are chronic symptoms like who stayed for the long time. So in that the symptoms who stayed in for the long term, so the complications in secondary symptoms, so the complication is cerebral malaria, breathing problems, organ failure, and anemia. Sometimes it may lead to the, if talking about cerebral malaria, so after damaging or after affecting some internal organ, it may reach to the nervous system or brain area. So it may damage the central nervous system, which leads to the cerebral malaria, which we can commonly say as cerebral malaria. And the common symptom it causes the coma. Coma may be happen due to the case of cerebral malaria. And another example will took the breathing problems. If we breathing problems, it can also affect the lungs. So it after accumulation fluid in the lungs, so it can maybe affect the lungs. For after affecting the lungs, it may be difficult to breathe. So this is a breathing problem also. And third, we can have organ failure. So rather than liver or RBCs, it might be some damage, or it might be affect the kidney or spleen, and rupturing of spleen. This may lead to the life-threatening conditioning. So, and the last one example we have anemia. So, after affecting the RBCs, so it may lead the damage of red blood cells in our body, which may result in the anemia, low blood sugar level. Very low blood sugar can result in coma or death also. So it is causing the side effect of malarial medications also. So if we took an example of malaria by the number and the global and the regional bird, so according to the reports of WHO, that is World Health Organization, so every year WHO has celebrated the 25th, celebrated the World Malaria Day on the 25th April every year to educate or to erect the problem of malaria through the worldwide, as it becomes a very serious problem for the nations, for the developing nations. So for erecting the malaria, to overcome the malaria, so WHO has or other many organization has done so many efforts for the elimination of malaria. If we took the example of WHO, so after WHO reports on malaria, if we took an example of malaria and malaria cases by the numbers, so we took, if I took an example of malaria cases by the WHO report in 2020, so there were 245 million cases every year, 245 live million cases of malaria every year, which leads to the 6,97,000 deaths per every year worldwide. And another we have, if I took an example of, and I took an example of report of 2021 malaria WHO report. So in 2021 WHO report has the cases, the live cases of malaria through worldwide is 247, which were increased from the last year. So into 2021, the cases of malaria was the graph of malaria was little increased. So the total cases of malaria worldwide is 247 million active cases of malaria worldwide, which leads to the death of 9 lakhs person 9 lakh population through worldwide. If I took an example of 2022, the WHO report on malaria. So in 2022, we took a decrease in a graph in the cases of the malaria. So in 2022, we have 241 million live cases of malaria, which leads to the 6 lakhs 27,000 of deaths every year due to the malaria. So, if malaria is mostly in distribution of malaria is mostly in sub-Saharan Africa. So it is distributed in the subtropical and tropical regions. So the heaviest burden of the malaria is on the Africa or sub-Saharan African countries. So sub-Saharan African countries has the 80% of malarial deaths every year. So it leads to the heaviest burden of malaria worldwide. If I took an example of India, so the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare launches the program that is malaria, the National Framework for Malaria Elimination, which was launched in the 2016 in February 2016. The vision of this framework was to erect the malaria from the India. The goal is to erect the malaria from the India is to complete the in 2030. So the government of India has launched so many programs to erect the cases of malaria every year. So if I took an example of live cases of malaria in India, there are 45,000 live cases of malaria in India. So in 45,000 cases, so every year 15 to 20,000 people were died through the malaria in India. So in India, the most affected states who has the highest amount of malarial cases is the mostly the northeastern states like Meghalaya, Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, I would say, and the highest malarial cases, I would say Odisha. Odisha is contributing India's highest cases of malaria, and Chhattisgarh also has contributing somewhere from the malarial cases in India. So what government has done, so government has celebrated, so WHO has launched the program that is to celebrate every year the World Malaria Day at 25th April to educate people, to spread awareness, to educate people about the diseases, about the spread, about the health conscious. So WHO has organized or launched so many programs to erect these kind of diseases from the environment, because causes a very huge burden on any developing countries. So WHO has launched so many programs, and they were also connected with so many organizations and NGOs to erect the cases from the nation. Or also, they have organized so many programs in that programs. These programs, the aims of these programs were to educate the people about these diseases. So this is the national framework for malaria elimination, which were launched by the government of India in 2016, February 2016. The aim and the vision of the government was to erect the malaria, the total malaria cases from the nation is to 20 by 2030. So India has also did very good job in erection of in elimination of the malarial cases from the previous history. If I took an example of WHO reports by 2021, so WHO report has announced or a report which has announced that China is now the free country, the China is now the first country to not the first country. China is now the country have no or have free malarial cases. So, WHO reports on June 31, 2021 has declared now the China has not. China has free from the malaria cases. So in India, in our nation, so our government has also taken so many examples, so many organizations. They were connected with so many organizations and NGOs. So the aim and the vision of these NGOs and organization was to erect these kind of dreadies or these kind of harmful diseases, to erect these kind of harmful diseases from our environment. So what are the preventions? So if I took an example of how we have to erect these diseases, we have to use some precautions, some preventions to overcome these diseases. When I talk about the education, to educate people. So by educating people, we have to educate the people for the precautions like use insecticide. We can use insecticide for to kill the adult mosquito or to spreading or to lower the cases of mosquito bite. We can also use insecticides, and we can also use sleeping nets. By using sleeping nets, we can also prevent the mosquitoes bite. So another example I would say cover body, by covering your body. So by covering your body or wearing the long clothes can also decreases the and prevent the mosquitoes bite. And another, we have applying creams or mosquitoes repellents. By using mosquito repellents creams, we can also prevent the mosquitoes bite. These are some preventions. And another preventions, another environmental factors. By preventing them, we can also achieve our goal to erect these harmful diseases from our environment. So erecting these environmental factors like poor drainage system, poor sewage disposal, open blocked drains, and open water, collecting of water in open utensils. By avoiding such kind of mistakes, we can also cure about, we can also achieve our goals by eliminating these kind of diseases. So these are all about the parasitic diseases. So this is all about the parasitic diseases and the preventions. We can by using these preventions, how we can achieve our goal to erect or to eliminate the harmful diseases from our environment. So thank you. This is all about my topic.